keep myself to time. But welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the information session for the 2026 edition of the MAVlab Innovation Awards. We are so excited to be in the second year. It is super cool. We had lots of incredible feedback from you and we have changed things up a bit. So I'm excited to get into that in just a second. But I would like to start this session by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands we're tuning in from today. The Municipal Association of Victoria acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Victoria and recognise their continuing connection to lands, waters and cultures. I'd like to pay respects to elders past and present who carry stories, tradition, cultures and aspirations of First People and who forge the path ahead for emerging leaders. I always love to observe the Wurundjeri seasons and how they're changing. I'm currently up in Preston here on the land of the Wurundjeri Wurrung peoples. And I believe we're in wombat season. Can anyone correct me? We're in wombat season. But we've been through, I know there's been a period of a lot of wet and then there's a lot of dry, and it's just a nice little kind of check-in of the environments that we live in. Some of us in more regional and rural areas, which is beautiful. So please feel free to share where you're tuning in from in the chat. We'll get right into it. We've got a lot to cover today. Because this is being recorded, I want to make sure that the information is really relevant and you can kind of chop to the section or the part that's most relevant if you're putting together a submission and you want to go back and check in on the criteria or zoom straight to the awards portal that we've got this year. So I'll keep to this agenda. We're going to go through all of the components you might need, and then hopefully we'll have a bit of time at the end for questions, and I can stop the recording then if anyone wants to share those, but I'll update the FAQs on the main page with any questions that you have. So just a quick shout out, we've got some incredible award partners, and if we didn't have these guys on board, it just absolutely wouldn't be possible to do this awards program. So a big shout out to our partners there with our premier partners, Davidson and JLT. And you can of course find out more about these guys on the website. Now, the why behind this is probably pretty clear to you. We see the work that you're doing in councils, and we know that you don't often have time to tell us how awesome you are, and you often don't have time to kind of amplify that message and share learnings and tell other councils and collaborate. So what we want to do through this program is really make visible your work and also give opportunities to other councils to learn from the work that you're doing and collaborate and connect with you. So it really is a beautiful opportunity to make the entire Victorian local government sector more visible to each other, but also build some of that local leadership in councils and in communities that really kind of talks to the important work that has to be happening right now. So that's from community cohesion and connection to climate resilience and adaptation, energy transition, economic transition, health and well-being, safety in our communities, all of our planning work. So it's a whole gamut of work that you do in council, and it's all incredibly critical to the way that communities thrive. And so a quick touch on just continuing on that why, as I mentioned, celebrate and recognise, showcase diversity as well. Our councils are incredibly diverse. Make sure you're learning and building up a library over the years. So in year one, we have almost 50. We've got 49 case studies that celebrate the work that's being done all over Victoria. And this year we'll have an additional 40 case studies to add through all of the finalists of this program. Also as well, like identify the new and emerging skills that we're seeing coming through councils, from sort of service design to change management and innovation skills, and as well like collaboration and facilitation skills, all of the skills that we need in councils now more than ever, and enable your relationships. And so just a pause on the special factor, the thing that we think is incredibly unique about this program. So every year, as mentioned, we build up this case study library. I can't see all your hands, but has anyone on the screen heard about this, used a case study, gone to explore? You may not. If you haven't, this is your opportunity to do so. There's 49 in there, and they are from topics from, councils collaborating together on aged care services, to putting sensors in public sports facilities in order to make sure cleaning rosters and investment is appropriate, to climate change and resilience and curbside charging and all sorts of things. So please feel free to jump on and have a look. What's important is that when you enter in the information to participate this year, you're actually telling us your case study. So we actually grab that information if you're a finalist and we transition that into an online web page for yourself. And we will continue to, throughout the year following, point people to that incredible case study and saying, oh, you want an example of a great program for engaging young teens in body positivity? Go and read about the Filtered Body Image Project at Greater Dandenong. Or do you want to hear about some great work in living labs and engaging the community on future topics? Go and chat to the City of Casey. They've got an incredible program, and we'll point people to this. So this becomes an opportunity for us to spruik your work throughout the year, and this will continue to evolve over time. And an exciting thing that we also do is we invest a portion of the resources from the project in getting out and being in your council. So last year we visited 10 councils and we created 6 stories. We went to Whitehorse, Bulbour, Bass Coast, a variety of diverse councils across the state. And we created a little library of videos that we often use in advocacy campaigns. And we also have 550 new photographs that represent different parts of the state. And this year we'll do that exact same thing. We'll iterate on it, but we're going to pick 5 new sites that exemplify different diverse programs, communities, environments across the state. And what the MAV really wants to do is make sure we're building up a library that feels really representative of our council, so that we're not using stock imagery or we're not telling hypothetical stories. We're really pointing to what's actually happening on the ground. So this is something that we're really proud of, and we will continue this year. So this is a page on what's new, and I think this is exciting for us because when we do programs in council, sometimes it's not as okay to talk about all the things that went wrong or all the things that you thought would happen but didn't happen. But here at the Innovation Lab, we feel like we have license to be really honest about how we want to change things up and iterate year on year. And so we had 16 awards topics last year, and this year we have 13. That's because 16 is a lot. We wanted to go really diverse and broad, and then we're kind of refining it up. But as part of those 13, there's some completely new topics, and I'll tell you about that in a second. We've also got new criteria. So in 2025, we knew we wanted people to talk about their solution, their innovation, and also the impact it led to, and also whether it was scalable. But what we didn't put as much focus on in 2025 was thinking about long-term impacts and systems change, and potentially what your project led to outside of the scope of that project timeline. And so I'll talk about that in just a second, but that's really exciting. The work that councils are doing often through projects is often leading to systems change or creating new alliances or creating new rules or new processes and systems. And I think that builds, we know that builds long-term resilience and value for councils, even if it's harder to capture in terms of metrics. We've got 2 major leadership awards, the Innovatio Pro Bono Publico Emerging Leader and Established Leader Award for CEOs. These used to be just able for our council staff to apply for, but we've opened it up. We heard that sometimes council staff feel a bit too humble to nominate themselves or talk about their own leadership. And we heard from people in the sector, from different organisations and also from leaders inside MAV, that they really wanted to nominate incredible leadership in councils, but didn't have the chance last year because of our rules. So we've really opened that up. And this year, I'll talk a little bit about it in a second, we invite anyone who nominates a great leader to also tap someone else on the shoulder and provide a reference or a story of value. We've also added more support for regional and rural councils. We know there's a lot of people working in these incredible councils that have several roles or work part-time potentially or aren't available on the times we're having info sessions. We also know that we're often more time poor and constrained with resources to put together nominations for programs like this. And so we've got a special workshop coming up on the 28th, which will not be recorded. That will just be an invitation to council staff and regional and rural councils to come along, share your ideas, talk about maybe anything you're kind of stumbling over. Maybe you're having a hard time talking about it as innovative, or maybe you're just lacking a bit of confidence and you want to hear that what you're nominating is really fantastic, and we want to provide that for you in that forum. And we've also got mentoring. So if you jump online, there's a link to book in a time with myself, and we'll talk through your submission and your project, and I'd love to give you a hand in putting together your submission. I'm also not a judge. I'm just the program lead, so there's absolutely no conflict of interest there, don't worry. We've also got an extra 2 weeks this year, and we might continue to iterate the time period. And we've got a really exciting award celebration in September this year. Last year, if anyone was in the room, it was a really exciting event. It was quite noisy. Everyone was chatting. Everyone was excited to see each other. Because we had 16 awards, it was really busy as well. We wanted more time to get some finalists up on the stage this year and tell a bit more about your stories rather than just saying, you know, this is who the wonderful winner is and move along. So we've really iterated that awards celebration. a big party about innovation in the state. And as we did last year, we created some incredible creative trophies with a local artist. We worked with Kathy Leatham, and she designed these gorgeous woven trophies out of native grasses. And this year, we're going to work with a different local artist and local studio, and we will continue to do that year on year to create these beautiful artifacts that are celebrations of your innovation, the work you do. And they don't look like any other trophies from regular awards programs. And the MAVlab, we like to stand out for being a little bit creative and innovative. And finally, and really importantly, I think for yourselves and for the judges that are part of this, we're working with Award Force this year, which is a really exciting awards program. If you've been part of the National Awards for Local Government or Good Design Awards, you might have experienced Awards Force in the past. This is really exciting. I'll show you it in just a little bit, but these are kind of some of the ways that we're hoping that your experience of the awards program will be exciting, easy, efficient, and maybe even a little bit fun this year. I'm only going to pause on the eligibility slide for a little bit because this is probably not why you've come along. If you work in Victorian Local Council, you are absolutely eligible. The only thing I'll call out on this page is that we're looking for projects that were delivered or implemented in 2025 or 2026. In the first year of the awards program, we took it right back to 2023 and said 2023, 2024, 2025, tell us about it. And this year, we're just bringing it in a little bit tighter to 2025 and 2026 as the second year. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat and we can come to that later. Now, categories. If you've jumped online, you've probably already picked out the one that you think you might want to nominate for. This is a reminder that you can actually nominate for several awards, and we really hope you do. And as part of the Awards Force portal, once you've put together your nomination, potentially for the Wellbeing Award, you can actually copy that same submission and change the nomination to the Connector Award. And then you can jump in and you can tweak your nominations to make it aligned with the Connector Award and what we're hoping to see and celebrate through that different award. And hopefully that makes your job really easy. It replicates the uploads and the images you might have supplied, all of the contact details you can tweak. So hopefully that makes it really exciting. But what you'll see down the bottom, and I'm sorry if they're a little bit blurry for you, there's a couple of new stickers. And so this year we've got the Thriving Places Award for Design and Planning Excellence. We know our planners and our designers in council are doing an incredible job supporting our communities through reforms and housing provisions and trying to meet some housing targets, and also creating communities that are not just providing, housing and what is seen as infrastructure to live in, but the social infrastructure to build communities and ensure those communities will thrive for many years to come. And so that award's really exciting for us. It kind of takes parts of the Systems and Cycles Award that we had last year, and a little bit of the Energizer Award, which is about energy transition, and a little bit about the Refuge Award, which was about housing and safe spaces. And it kind of brings that together in one cohesive award. We've also got the Skill to Serve Award. And so in 2025, we had the Thrive Award for Change Management. And that was acknowledging a kind of new and emerging skill set and capability we were seeing in council. And the Skill to Serve Award opens that up more into all of the other capabilities we're seeing emerging in council and that we're seeing councils invest in through innovation programs, through, psychological safety programs, through programs that teach people how to collaborate and facilitate collaboration. So there's lots happening in councils to help the transformation and the adaptation of council staff to make sure they're delivering, efficient services to community and make sure that inside council, the systems are operating really efficiently. So we really want to celebrate and champion that and tell stories about it for other councils to learn. And finally, the Community Voice Award, which is really exciting. So distinct to the Connector Award, which is really about programs that support community to connect with community and build empathy and understanding and learn about each other and exist together and have really thriving relationships. The Community Voice Award is really about engagement between council and community and helping make decisions together and work together in really productive and constructive ways. And so we're really excited that has joined us this year. Now, the ones highlighted in pink have been tweaked slightly. We love a tweak. And so you'll notice a few different titles there. The Finnovation Award, for instance, for innovation in financial systems and management is now the Dollars and Cents Award for impactful and innovative council operations. And so that broadens it up, and we want councils to think about impact beyond the bottom line and the dollar. It could be through impactful procurement processes and systems that ensure we're engaging with social enterprise and Aboriginal and First Nations businesses, through businesses that drive gender equity and inclusion, whatever it might be. That award is really about both impactful and innovative council operations that are thinking about business, and all of the different ways that business can help drive impact in our councils and communities. Now I'm going to move on from categories because we have them all here. I'm going to flick through them really quickly because we've got some incredible partners on board. We have all of this information on the website, so please don't feel like you're missing out on anything here. And these gorgeous images you'll see are actually from winners and finalists in 2025 here. We've got the Mount Alexander Shire Community Infrastructure for Flood Resilience and Recovery Project team with their street coordinators. We've got Whitehorse City Council, a shout out. I saw some Whitehorse people in the room, and we've got the back of Lisa Ippolito, who was the winner of the Thrive Award, and her incredible team out there. Down in Bass Coast with Mick Grant Collins and the team. We went out to Ballarat, down City of Casey, that's Chris and Cara. We've got, this is a shot from Bulbul Shire for the Shaping the Future of Nudgee project. You've got there a sneak peek of the harbour, which is an incredible award for housing. That was the Refuge Award for Housing Innovation, and this was a social housing pilot that's really beautiful. It's designed above a car park, a council car park, and it's an absolutely gorgeous building and a beautiful project in collaboration. This, I believe, is the beautiful Bass Coast. Again, the social housing project. And this here is Kate, who is part of the Kensington Residents Association. And we went and interviewed her about the stormwater sensing in the city of Melbourne. Now, without further ado, I want to briefly talk about the criteria, and I touched on this before. What I've called out there, number 4, is a completely new component. So I'm sorry that we are asking you to do a little bit more work on the criteria front, but what we're actually scoring you on in terms of where the judges get in and add a score is just these 5 points. So the first one is that we're asking you to tell us the context. What was the challenge? What were you addressing? And in doing so, our judges are able to assess the level of complexity and potentially the constrained resources that you were operating under. If you were a 1 staff member, very small team, you had next to no budget to deliver this, that really comes into how innovative it was. It's a lot harder to be creative and get outcomes when you have constrained budgets and people. So that's what their first criteria is about, and what they're ranking on is how complex or how constrained the resources were. So a higher score for when there are less resources or less complexities. Solution and innovation, tell us what you did. Tell us how you approached it, the key chunks, and that then makes up 50% of the score. And then the other 50% of the score is really telling us, as a result of this work, what did it lead to? What eventuated? And so 20% of that is what was the effects within the scope of your project, within the time period. So it might be you wanted to work with community on building resilience, and you did some great workshops, and as a result, X number of people came along, you ran this many workshops, people said they had fun, and it was a success, and you met your targets. The next one, which is another 20%, which is the same weighting as the previous one, is what does this mean in the future? So tell us about the impacts of this project, building in resilience, systems, relationships. What's it actually going to mean in the long term beyond the scope of your project or beyond the period that you engage with community or council? And this is really exciting because often this value is perceived, this value isn't so much looked at because we're often working within annual budgets and council term periods, and we're thinking of like 4-year cycles. But what we know is that investment in, the short term on building resilience and capability and in systems leads to really fantastic impacts in the long term. And so we want to, through this project, acknowledge that work you're doing and also make sure people are thinking about focusing on it in council work. And then finally, 10%, we want to hear about the scalability or the transferability. So a little bit different to the long-term impacts of what you've already done. What are the potential ways we can pick it up and put it down in another council, another municipality, or even in another team? And so slightly different when we're looking at people and leadership. The criteria is 4 key points, and we've added the third one in as new. And so what we're asking, and these are all slightly tweaked from 2025, because we know that the skills required in leadership often change and are evolving, but we've learned new things from between last year and this year. And what we want to encourage people to tell us about is how are our leaders helping to be really strategic and think about the future and be really future focused, and supporting council to also cast an eye to the future and be really strategic about the work they're doing and be really bold and brave in that as well. We really want to hear about examples where leaders are working across the council to make sure people are all driving towards the same vision, and doing it especially when it's really tough and challenging. Number two, there is influence and enablement. And that's what are the ways that this leader is ensuring that they're creating systems, containers, opportunities for other people to be empowered and to lead, and to unlock different levels of expertise and wisdom at all levels of the organization, not just in leadership roles. The third one there is on agility, adaptability, and growth. And this is really exciting because in council, more now than ever, there's a lot of pivoting, a lot of rapid adjustment. We saw through the COVID pandemic. We've seen through a range of different events through, it might be emergency management, like through floods or fires, through all sorts of things, council have had to respond really quickly. Through AI, councils have had to really quickly think about the ways that they're adapting their systems and supporting staff to leverage these new tools. What are the ways we want to know that this leader is resilient and agile and is keeping a constant gaze and a finger on the pulse is what's required, and being able to pivot and not being rigid in systems, but maintaining a sense of strategy and connecting into the council systems, but being that kind of adaptable leader and one that's also growing and learning. So when AI came about, did this leader make an effort to get the information that's required to make the decisions that might have been difficult or under pressure? Or maybe this leader has made an effort to learn more about all the different parts of the organization that they're now working with as a result. And how is this leader talking about their own potential lack of wisdom, and that as a result, they're going to go and then learn about something? So how are they demonstrating that they don't know everything, and they're leaning on other expertise, and that they're constantly changing, that they're being dynamic in their skills, and they're constantly looking to learn more? And then finally, what's their enduring value? So this talks to that previous slide on projects. What are the ways that this leader is actually leading to long-term impact? So potentially there's mentoring programs or leadership programs that then future leaders are being impacted by the work that they're doing. It could be that they've established new communities of practice, or that they've done some really incredible presentations that people will never forget, and as a result are inspired to act or carry themselves in a similar way. And finally, the point I touched on before, anyone in the Victorian local government sector can nominate a fantastic leader. And so as part of that, if I were to say, wow, I'm so impressed by the leadership someone is doing in climate resilience at a particular shire, I'm going to put in a nomination, and I'm going to tap on the CEO that works with them or someone in their team, and I want them to validate my experiences and my nomination and all the ways that I think they're building value. And there's a really simple way. You just put in their email address, they get a little tap on the shoulder, and they have to submit a couple of sentences about why they think this person is worthy. And they also get to see what you've submitted as well as part of your nomination for that leader. I'm keeping one eye on the time, and I want to make sure there's plenty of time for questions and answers. I do just really want to touch on the judging. So for each of the different categories, and there's 13, we have assembled judging panels, and that includes a minimum of one person in council. That was really important for us last year, and it worked really well. We had people that understand the complex systems across regional, rural, and metro councils. And we're going to be doing that again this year, tapping people on the shoulder to join those judging panels. There's also a minimum of one person in industry. And that means it could be the partner, it could be someone who is designing solutions and tools and technical processes and understands this topic because they've worked with councils before. We're also working with our advisory panels at the MAV, who are experts across a variety of topics. And so each nomination will get 3 scores. If there is discrepancies between those scores, we then stand up moderation sessions, and we also complete inside the MAVlab a pre-assessment review, which is against the eligibility and the terms and conditions. So this was really rigorous in 2025, and it will again continue to be, and we will continue to iterate if there are any learnings that arise this year as a result of it. Now we have about a month to give us that assessment period. So once you've nominated on the 24th of June, we will come back to you, 24th of June, we'll come back to you at the end of July. So we have about a month to get through your incredible nominations. Now, just shouting out what you get, and I think this is really exciting. As mentioned, a beautiful handcrafted trophy for all of the winners. All of the finalists will receive a gorgeous certificate with a gold shiny star, and we will encourage you to display that proudly in your councils. But you will also join our exciting case study library, and this will stay live on the MAV website and build and be part of a resource that will build in its legacy over time. And as part of that, what we're thinking of iterating on is adding to each page, people have the opportunity to note if they've taken learnings from it, if they've scaled it up, if they've reached out to this person as a result, because we, again, want to trace that long-term impact of sharing these stories. So stay tuned for that. Have I missed anything? Oh, very excitingly this year, which is new, Leadership Victoria supporting one lucky emerging leader, and that could be across any of the award nominations. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Emerging Leader Award. We'll be choosing one person to participate in the Igniting Leadership program, which is incredibly exciting. And then everyone will join us at the award ceremony. Even if you are not a finalist or a winner, you're more than welcome to join, and we'll be sharing more information about that soon. It will be in a Metro Melbourne location, and we will be looking at supporting anyone in regional rural councils to make sure they can attend and join us on the evening. Now, this is a little timeline. I do apologize, it's a little bit tiny, but what you can see there in the gold, kind of muddy color, mustard, is all of these sort of bright yellow points, and these are our touch points. Applications opened on the 23rd and will close on the 24th of June. And during that period, we've got our info session, which is right here. We've got our regional and rural councils workshop, which is on the 28th at lunchtime. We've also got tucked in here just before that the mentoring on the 25th and 26th, and also on the 1st of June. So book a time with me. And we've also got, what have I called out? We've got 3 events happening in June with some incredible partners and also winners of the 2025. Everyone's going to be giving short lightning talks on delivering impact and the insights into doing that. So very soon those events will be open to register and come along if you would like to hear from them. And that's kind of in the build up to the nominations closing. I will note that it doesn't take a huge amount of time to submit if you have all your content ready. It will probably take you about 15 minutes or less, and I can show you in a second, but it will take you some time, of course, to think about what you're going to submit. And hopefully you'll be starting that now. Now, what are tips for a fantastic submission? Now, we want you to think about this as a story and make sure you're sort of centering council or community members' experience in it. Tell us from the perspective of someone, or make sure that you're embedding the impacts of that person through your nomination. We say take a journey, what you did, what was critical, and what information can you cut out of the submission maybe that will detract attention away from the innovation and the impact that you delivered. There's a note here that if you haven't thought about scale long-term impact, it's not too late. So just because your project didn't think about systems change, or didn't think about long-term resilience, or didn't think about how another council might pick it up and put it down, doesn't mean you can't do it now. So please, it's not about what you've already done, it's about what the potential is in your solution or your approach or your project. Use data, that's a pretty obvious one. Qualitative and quantitative. If you've got some feedback from people who participated, that is just as critical as numbers of engagement or your more kind of numeric metrics. Make sure you get fresh eyes to review it. What we recommend is download our Word document from the website. We've got a little downloadable Word doc, and you can put that on your SharePoint or your OneDrive and share it with colleagues. But send that across to someone and get them to review it. Maybe someone who wasn't involved in the project, and let them know which award category you're nominating for and get their feedback, because you'll often find that if you're very close to the project, you'll talk about things that you really cared about but might not be super important for the award nomination. Also, I want to call out that we know innovation isn't smooth. It happens in kind of like a bumpy and a roundabout and a forwards and back way. And so please share any of those learnings or times when things were really challenging and you had to maybe rethink or go back to the drawing board. We think that's really exciting, and we want to promote more of that sharing. Was it sort of that you were testing and piloting? Did you have to get stakeholders on board that at first were really against it? Where did sentiment change occur? What did you do to kind of support them on that journey? Review all award categories. You might be putting in a really gorgeous project about the Thriving Award for, the Thriving Places Award for Excellence in Design and Planning, but not realize that your project is actually also eligible for the Connection Award, because it delivers a neighborhood plan or a design that really delivers community connection, and you have some data or some stories that are telling us how it's delivering to that. So make sure you're aware of all the categories. Be concise and clear. That's just kind of making sure you're being as succinct as possible. We do have some word limits. It's 250 words per category. And the awards portal will tell us when you've gone over. It won't allow you to submit, unfortunately, if you're over that. And finally, be selective with your attachments. Pick your images that are, we often say like the hero images or the money images, money shots that show community value or internal value. We know that's really difficult for, say, AI projects or systems, or it might be a procurement portal that you've established. We know images can be difficult, but screenshots work really well. Yeah, so have a think about the images and the diagrams you might submit. Please note we won't accept big Word documents, or if you choose to upload a document that is really word heavy, just note that our judges are not going to score against that, but they're absolutely going to consider it as part of your submission, but they won't give a score to the attachments themselves. Alrighty. We're coming up just past 1 o'clock. So what I was thinking of doing is stopping to share my screen soon and showing you the awards portal. This page is really just about some kind of 4 simple steps you might take. You might download the preview, which is, this is actually linked on the awards site, not on the website, and I'll show you in a second. So for each of our categories, once you get in and start your nomination, you can download a PDF and just see all of the questions. But also you can do that within the portal, so I'll show you that in a second. Draft your responses, in the Word document, create your login, make sure you're submitting by the 24th of June, and you don't need to be worried about if you've submitted something and you want to change the details. You can edit that nomination right up until the closing date. We will not begin any of the assessments until after the 24th of June. All right, now before I jump to questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to take you into the back end of the new portal. All right, I'm going to share this window over here. All right, I'm hoping you can see that. I'm assuming someone will tell me if you cannot. So this here is the Innovation Awards website. You can see there's a bunch of contents at the top that will help you navigate around the page. Anything you ask me during the session, I'll add to that FAQs, and that is built on from last year's FAQs. This is also where you'll learn about some upcoming dates and also about the events. So we're part of this one here. If you're a rural and regional council staff member, please have a look at the workshop and the mentoring that's available to you as well. Now, once you're on this website, you can actually download an awards pack, which is a PDF of all of the content on this page. You can download that and send it to colleagues who might not know about the project, as opposed to sending them various links to different pages. You can also download this working document here, which will enable you to draft your submission. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on this link and we're going to start an entry. So this is the Awards Force portal. And what you need to do is, I'm going to actually log out to give you an example. You don't need to see what it looks like. You have to create a registration so that you can make sure all of your entries are saved. You can copy and paste entries. You can edit entries. You can download PDFs. This is super easy. All you need to do is create an email address. You can see I've got one there. I won't show you my password. And once you've done that, it'll be a really simple experience to jump online. So once you're in, and I'm in the back end as a user here, but I'm going to take you through as if you're participating. Once you're in, you'll click enter, and you'll get a bit of key information there to make sure you've read the terms and conditions. But then, and you'll see down the bottom, I've done some testing with the wonderful Amanda Kearns entry, who was our winner for the Innovatio Pro Bono Publico Leader Award last year. I can show you that in a second, but you'll hit start entry and you'll be taken to this really simple entry form. All of these tabs across the top are the bits you need to enter. The first one asks you which category you're participating in. And so let's give an example of the Dollars and Cents Award. supported by Sensen, and you can actually hit download and you can get a copy of the PDF of the back end. And you might want to send this to a colleague and say, these are all the bits we need to fill out. You might want to dump it in Miro and use some editing. You might want to have a meeting and get your transcript and then put it into AI and kind of get it to organize things and then go back in and edit it. But this is a nice little place to start. But say you've already done that and you know what you're going to enter, you'll start entering your award. So let's call it a test project. And what it will do is it will save that information and take you to the next tab. Now, the next tab asks you to go through and just check all the eligibility. So as part of that, what we want to make sure is that people acknowledge that we're going to be using your incredible case studies to go onto the MAV website. And so if there is any sensitive or private content in your submission, please just let us know. And that doesn't have to be at the time of submission. We can also be alerted to that if you've been named a finalist. Also note, we ask in this submission what the budget was for your project. We will never share that publicly, and we note that in the submission. But all the other details we really would love to share, including the names of the members of your team, all sorts of things like that. So once you've gone through and you've ticked all of these, and it will actually make sure you do. I'll give you an example. You click check eligibility and it says, no, you have to make sure that you've checked in with your relevant management or organization that you can be nominating. We want to make sure that you've received support. So once you've done that, you'll get a confirmation. You'll actually receive an email as well to say, you're eligible. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Now, once you've done that, we want all of your details, and this is so that we can contact you. If you work with someone who you also want to be contacted about the nomination, please fill that in. This is kind of like the news heading part of the submission. So we want to know, what's the tagline? So if this was a heading in a newspaper, would it be new council projects delivers healthful community members? That was a terrible tagline. Don't do that. But we want you to tell us in less than 10 words, what is the unique impact of this project? What happened? And what we're going to do for your case study, if you become a finalist, is we're going to use this tagline, or we might work with you to tweak it. We want to hear in 60 words or less, what was it? So, for instance, this was a project that addressed the challenge of the timber transition and worked with local people in the community to consider what the future industries would be, so that community were involved in this, future journey for the local town. And as a result, we established some working groups and some projects that have led to some really fantastic outcomes locally. I don't know if that was less than 60 words. As part of that, we want to hear, what were you trying to achieve? So in bullet points or using some dashes there, just tell us what the goals of the project were. Be concise. The size of your team, chuck in their names there if you would like. It's optional. How long did it go for? I think this is really important. It helps other people learn from your processes, and note if things had to stop and start and for what reason they might have. And then again, as I mentioned, the budget is optional and we won't be sharing that, but it's really exciting for us to know and learn what were the resources that you were operating with. Now, once you've done that, we get into the criteria, which we've spoken about. And now, as part of this, on the right here, you'll get helpful text to help you input into the criteria. And up the top here, it tells you what percentage the judging score will be contributing to your overall score out of 100 or 100%. So once you've done that, you'll come into the attachments page and you'll drag and drop up to 3 different links. It could be to videos or websites, and then you can drop up to 5 attachments, and we ask for a minimum of 1 image per project. These will then go on the case study website if you're a finalist. Once you've submitted, you'll be able to download a PDF, and you'll get a notification to let you know and get a copy of that. And I will also use this portal to contact you to let you know the outcome of your submission, to invite you to get tickets to the award celebration, regardless of if you're a finalist, and even potentially in 2027 when we open up, if you've opted in, if that's okay, we'll let you know about future programs. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to acknowledge that I'm a really fast talker, and I went through that really quickly. I really would love to hear from you if you have any questions, concerns, ideas, compliments about the program, whatever it might be. Please feel free to jump in and ask me now. I might actually stop the recording and make sure everyone feels comfortable to do that, and I'll add any of your questions to the website following. All right.